What's the company bracing for? What's the strategy come Monday morning?
So I think everybody is anticipating a repeat of the primaries, where we'll have Fernandez win by a large enough margin to go ahead and declare him finally president. So there won't be a runoff in late November. I think that that's what the market is anticipating. I think that's what polls are showing. I think the energy market is extremely anxious to hear what the energy policy is going to be going forward. Alex, it's really important to understand that Argentina holds the second largest natural gas shale deposit in the world and the fourth largest oil shale deposit in the world. It is currently being explored. It is currently being produced. Many majors from around the world are down there, and it is the most important sector for the Argentine economy. Over 50% of investment in Argentina over the last 4 years has been dedicated to the energy sector. And clearly, it can help the company's fortunes going forward. It's just a question of how does the government, with its troubles financially, go ahead and incentivize drillers financially to drill.
What would it take for drillers to start drilling again? We have an oil price freeze. That's one thing. You also continue to have an export on oil products and oil to begin with. So what's it going to take for Magdalena, for example, to go in and do it?
Well, Magdalena is actually drilling as we speak. They haven't pulled back at all in light of the freeze.
Okay.
Yes, their properties are in such full swing, so to say, that it's going ahead. It drills with Pan American Energy, which is an arm or an investment by British Petroleum, and they are going ahead and drilling, and production is uptick. But to your point more broadly, I think it's going to take a clear energy policy and a clear path towards profitability for the majors. I don't think that the country is going to have difficulty doing that. I think it's going to have difficulty in the short term balancing, obviously, the high price relative on a peso basis, the price of gasoline at the pump or the price of electricity in the home vis-a-vis natural gas. But on the other hand, it seems clear to me for the long term, and I think it seems clear to almost any economist in the country that you talk to, that in order to go ahead and increase the good fortunes financially of the country, the energy sector is going to need to succeed. The only way the energy sector succeeds is if it is incentivized to go ahead and invest in the country to produce more oil and natural gas.
So, Harrison, you advise companies. They're going to come to you and say, hey, I want to get into shale. I don't want to get it here in the U.S. Maybe I go to Argentina. What do you say?
I say you better be a pretty healthy, large player to expose yourself to that kind of political risk. And it's just a tough thing. I agree with David. There's a difference in short-term and long-term. But I'm sometimes at my age reminded that John Maynard Keynes says, in the long run, we're all dead.
That's pretty bleak. So does that mean that there's like nothing that you think? So let's take what David was talking about in terms of this is a very important asset. The policies at some point will come into place. It's just a matter of kind of how quickly. Do you not believe that? Or do you think it's going to be a lot slower than maybe some people think?
I absolutely believe he's correct in that. And this is the way out of the financial mess in which Argentina finds itself, again. However, killing the Golden Goose is something that Argentina has historically been very good at.
So does that mean if I'm a company and I come to you, you want to tell me to go to U.S. shale instead, for example? Or is that not a good bet either?
I think U.S. shale is a much more certain bet than Argentina. But again, if you're a very large company and have that kind of opportunity, you need to be exposing yourself to opportunities in lots of places. And so Argentina is a great place to do that on a technical basis.
Mm-hmm. So, David, what do you feel like is the right kind of capital that need to come in? Like all the majors are already in there, like as David was just, that Harrison was just talking about. Is it enough? Like how much more do you see to scale up? So
for sure, to your point earlier about the price freeze, right? A lot of majors have scaled back their drilling in the past quarter based on that. They need to know, for purposes of their own projections, what exactly the policy is going to look like in order to continue to invest. And certainly there have been pronouncements, even by Vista Oil and Gas CEO yesterday on their earnings call said, we're ready, willing, and able to invest more money in Argentina as soon as it becomes clear to us what the path forward looks like. So I do think that it is increased investments by those that are already there, More importantly, Alex, there are lots and lots of global players that are not yet invested in Argentina. The Russians, the Chinese, much of the Nordic players as well. Eventually, they will want to go ahead and invest there too. Do I expect that there will be foreign financial investors that will come running to Argentina? I don't expect that to happen in the near term, maybe in the medium term. I expect mostly strategic players will continue to invest, and those that are not yet there are going to invest going forward.
So Harrison, in the meantime, though, there's going to be consolidation here in the U.S. in terms of shale, where it's going to be the big players that are probably going to come in and buy the smaller companies. There was an article in the Journal over the weekend that talked about like a new type of bond that basically you own part of a well and its production, and that was the bond that you were going to get. Is that a good investment? Like, how do you look at these new debt financings?
If underwritten correctly, and there's a lot that goes into that, this could provide yield, which is currently lacking in a lot of the financial products that you can buy. So the theoretical ability for oil and gas production to give you a yield is high, but you have to do the underwriting correctly, which requires good reservoir engineering, good hedging, good wells, lots of stuff. Devil's in the details.
Harrison, is funding drying up? Is it dried up, or is it still open for U.S. shale players?
What funding? It is absolutely dried up. The equities have been absolutely punished. The global uncertainty hurts. It's everyone, the industry is in effect probably over levered quite a bit. So everyone's being told to live within cash flow. That's difficult in many cases.